In this video, we're going to be talking about how you can perfect the taper of 7-OH. And the reason being, it's because there have been a lot of questions from a prior video I did regarding the 7-OH versus Kratom, and a lot of people discussing being on very high doses of it and how it can be extremely difficult getting off of it. So, why I want to talk about this as well is one main reason. The taper of 7-OH, I believe, is way more effective than just ripping the band-aid off cold turkey in this specific instance. There are other drugs or medications where cold turkeying might be more appropriate. But the reason why I'm such a strong advocate of potentially tapering it is because think about it this way. So let's say you've been using high-dose 7-OH, which that's what this video is going to revolve around, right? Let's say you've been taking, the 20 or 30 milligram pills, and you're taking a full package of those, equaling way over 100 milligrams a day. Let's say 150 to 200 milligrams a day. You could be taking 2 packs of them a day, regardless of the brand, high dose, over 100 milligrams. You have to think about it from this perspective. If you just rip the band-aid off all at once, there's going to be a hole that's going to be pulled out. So when you're going to be trying to fill that hole, okay? Follow me real quick on this, okay? When you stop it all at once, you're going to feel very empty inside. When you're not, and don't take this a funny way, when you're not filling that hole with what you were in the past, you're going to start filling it with other substances, which aren't going to be necessarily good. And even if they're not substances per se, a lot of times it just replaces one bad habit for another. And I know there are a lot of people online that will say things like, no, you can replace it with the gym, with other hobbies, which you can down the road, of course, with AA meetings, NA meetings. All these things work, but it's not going to fill that void completely. And in order to fill that void or hole, a taper would be way more proper. So if you're taking over 100 milligrams, if you're taking 200 milligrams, 300, have you fallen into that cycle where you've tried to quit, you're detoxing really hard, you might try to do something to the side, and you end up relapsing? The suggestion goes as followed, as from the past video I did. In order to replace 7-OH and fill that void or that hole you've been missing, your hole that you've been missing, why were you doing it in the first place? Okay? If you taper it down, you will have more success. So if you're taking high dose, the suggestion is still the same. It doesn't matter if you do it over a short period of time or a long period of time. If you're taking, let's say, 150 milligrams a day, all right? When you first start your taper, let's say the first week you drop your dose by 20 or 30 milligrams, you take one capsule out or one pill out. The second week, you take a second one out. The third week, you're down to a half pack, right? Or you're down, if you're taking 2 packs, you're down to 1 pack. If you're doing that, you will find it will be easier to adjust over the long term. And then, as you're dropping that dose, when you finally do decide to get off of it completely, or when you change from 7-OH to a Kratom extract, which is one thing I recommend, when you're almost off the 7-OH, if you're tapering it, and it can be take months to do, and you're not feeling right, going to the next thing once you take your last 7-OH dose would be to take a Kratom extract, because the key is a 7-OH is the most potent. It's synthesizing. You're taking that 7-OH from Kratom leaves, you're synthesizing it and making it into a pill. The goal is to get down to Kratom and to nothing. The next step from 7-OH, getting off of that, would be to a Kratom extract. That's the second most potent outside of 7-OH. You take some 7-OH, you drop down, and then you get to the Kratom. And then from there, take a couple grams, a couple times a day, and you get off of it. Some people might be able to go from 7-OH, tapering down their dose, to nothing. Some people might be able to go from 7-OH taper down to a kratom extract, taper that, then down to kratom, get off that. Or some people might go 7-OH, taper, and then add just regular kratom powder in and go about it that way and taper. But the reason, the real reason why tapering is just so much more, I think, effective today is because if you're willing to do it, and you can do it, you'll have hard days, don't get me wrong. You're going to have a lot of tough days if you are trying to taper off of it. Long term, you will have a lot more success. And the whole key to a taper is if you're getting down and you've gotten down to half your 7-OH dose, for example, right? And you feel scared dropping it further. Stop at the dose you're at. Don't worry about tapering it. Stay at that dose for as long as you feel comfortable to balance out a little bit more, and then drop. The key is just not to, once you start your taper, the key is just not to go higher than what your dose is. You stair step down. You don't want to, so if you're taking, let's say you went from 100, you tapered over a couple weeks down to 50 milligrams, right? Let's say you don't feel right at that dose, but you're managing, you're hanging on. The key is, and then let's say the next week you're like, well, I was going to go to 40 milligrams. If you don't feel comfortable dropping to 40, stay at the 50. What you don't want to do, and stay at the 50 as long as you need to. What you don't want to do is be at the 50 and just cave in one day and go, okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to 80 and restart it from there, or go back to your original dose. You don't want to do that, because then you've ruined the taper. The key is once you've started the taper, regardless of how long it's taking you, to not go back up at all. Because as you're tapering, as I've stated before, your brain chemicals, your neurotransmitters in particular, your dopamine, your serotonin, your norepinephrine, these are all going to be rebalancing while you're tapering. So when you're taking it, you're still getting the effect to help with the withdrawal, but at the same time, when you're lowering your dose, you're naturally starting to produce these neurotransmitters again. That's the whole key. So then when you finally do make the jump off of 7-OH to nothing, or if you make it to a kratom extract and you go from there and then down to kratom, while you're doing this, you're naturally going to start building up your neurotransmitters and your happy feelings again naturally. Even if you're replacing 7-OH with kratom, because remember, kratom is not near as potent as 7-OH. The withdrawal has been shown. There can be withdrawal from kratom, but it's nothing compared to 7-OH, which makes complete sense. 7-OH is so much stronger. It can be compared to things such as morphine, as strong as fentanyl. I mean, in my opinion, it's kind of like you take, for example, marijuana. Then they come out with, when it was illegal for a while, they come out, let's make this legal form, and they come out with K2. And look at how that turned out. It's kind of similar. Yes, they're taking from a kratom leaf the 7-OH from it, which is a very small amount. So if you're taking the kratom powder, there's no effect from 7-OH if you're taking the powder form. When they're extracting that and synthesizing it, that makes it not natural from there, and they're putting it in a pill form. So stay away from that. And if you're taking it, don't feel ashamed. At the time of people starting this, you didn't know what you're getting yourself into. Like most people, if you had a lot of pain, that's why you started taking it, or you were replacing 7-OH with fentanyl, which is still a better option. 7-OH is still a better option than fentanyl. I just think long term, as these things roll out, you'll notice way more people having problems getting off of these type of things. So don't feel bad if you got hooked to it. You're not alone, okay? You are not alone with it. Just know there are ways to get off of it, and even if it takes a long time, or in worst case scenario, let's say you have no money and you bought your last pack. Worst case scenario, you take those 5 pills, and you drop your dose to half of it, and you break them in half, and you just take lower doses, which the withdrawal will still suck when you go off cold turkey, but you will at least have started a taper and make it a little bit better for you if you're going to withdraw from it. But my suggestion would be, if you have no money at all and you have your last 7-OH, You have your last 7-OH batch you got of the pills. And you have a little bit of money to go buy an ounce of regular Kratom from a reputable vendor. Taper that and then use Kratom, because it would be better if you don't have money. I wouldn't go to the extract between the what I've talked about, where I've talked about the 7-OH to Kratom extract to the powder. That would be a long-term plan, okay? If you're going to be doing it long-term and you have the resources and money to do it. If you don't and you have a little bit of money, it would be to go from 7-OH, taper, buy some Kratom, and then when you're off the 7-OH or you've tapered that last pack you have, to then add in a couple grams of Kratom, take that a couple times a day, and that'll at least manage it better than being completely cold turkey. But just know there are options out there for you. And at high dose, it would be better if you can, would be to try to do a taper, a long-term one. But also if you can't, would be to go take whatever doses you have left. If you have a package of them left, you've been taking 150 milligrams a day. Instead of just going completely cold turkey, break them in half, try to reduce your dose by half, try to get some regular Kratom powder and go from there. But there are options. It's all about the taper. If you do cold turkey, just know, as I've stated, it's going to be cold cut with you on this. I'm going to be straight up. You are going to have tough withdrawals, but you still can get through it. Working would be really hard. Really bad restless leg. Sleeping is going to be very tough for you. You're going to be rolling around. You're going to be going from hot to cold. It's going to be kind of like a fentanyl withdrawal. An opiate-like withdrawal. You're going to be irritable. And the thing I'll say is, with a lot of withdrawals, a lot of people can get through physical withdrawals from opiates or opioids, or really any type of pill addiction, even benzos per se at the beginning. The physical can be done. It's the long term. It's the post-acute withdrawal that gets people, in particular with opiates or opioids. The first 2 to 3 days when you're detoxing off of opioids, it's hell. You will feel like death. It's the flu times 1,000. Your legs will be shaking. Sleeping will be very tough. You'll be crapping yourself. Things like that, okay? You'll have been constipated for a while. You'll have diarrhea. And you get through that, and then those post-acute withdrawals set in, which can be just as hard. And that's where doing a taper plan could really come in handy for you long term. Because if you can get off the 7-OH, you might go, well, you replace 7-OH with Kratom or Kratom extract. That might be true. But when you want to get off that, it'll be a lot easier than the 7-OH originally. Okay? Love you all. Leave a comment. I wanted to put that out there for people just to give them hope. You can do it. You just have to be very, very proactive. You have to be very structured, and you have to want it. The key to tapering off of 7-OH, the big takeaway is this. Do not go back up on your dose. And you can go as long as you need to. If you drop it to half your dose and you're not feeling right and you got to stay at that 50 milligrams longer than anticipated, just don't go back up at all, okay? And then, as discussed, once you drop that 7-OH to a very low, to where you'd be like, this is where you drop off and you don't feel comfortable, you go from there to a Kratom extract. Take that for a couple weeks, then go to Kratom powder, okay? It's all about the taper when it comes to these substances. Because the thing is, there just aren't enough studies on these, clinical studies, to show more effective ways to get off of it. There's obviously the cold turkey, but it's sometimes not ideal. That's always an option, but being realistic, if you don't want to relapse, I feel like tapering off these substances like 7-OH are going to be the way to go. Love you all. Like, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment if you're struggling with the 7-OH right now. But there is hope. I will say that. Stay strong, and just realize that if you are going through this and suffering, it's not your fault, okay? It's not your fault.